in regards to doing reactions, it's been kind of rough for me for the last couple of days because the temp has been over 100 degrees here in SoCal. My ankles have swollen up terribly. I did do like 140, an hour and 40 minutes react to what happened yesterday. And because it's so long, and my phone is really my only working device right now, you guys. I cannot, it's too big for the processor of my phone, right? So I can't trim it. I can't like go through and fix it up, even in the slightest way to make it somewhat reasonable to watch on my channel. But I did, I wasn't doing nothing today, yesterday. I had an event I was supposed to go to that I was privately invited to by our new chair of the Democratic Party of Orange County. And Gabby Gifford was the keynote speaker at this event. And I couldn't even go to that. My mom came over. She was going to watch Xylie so I could go to this event. I had a pretty dress laid out. I was ready to rock and roll. And then I'm like, Mom, I don't know. I just feel terrible. So I went to lie down and lift up my feet on a pillow because I looked like I had elephantitis, you guys. I just couldn't do it. So yesterday was rough, you guys. Anyway, I'm going to sum this up as best I can. Basically, Xylie is a miserable person. I think everybody who actually follows the locale universe knows that she's a miserable person. I'm not going to dive into why she is or like what's going on. I'm not a therapist, you guys. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I really don't know why she's so miserable. I cannot tell you. But she was placed on cafe, was bitching and moaning about it the entire time. Um, Ken was incredibly patient. Way kudos to you, Ken. Like, he was incredibly patient with her, despite being bullied by her co host, Billy the Fridge, for a few weeks now. It's getting, Billy, it's getting obsessive when you have these vengeful grudges against people within your own community that you're supposed to be lifting up. It's uncomfortable to watch. And it looks like you had some sort of trauma. Like I said, I'm not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist. I cannot tell you one way or the other. All I can tell you is that he appears to be locked in the headspace of a 13-year-old. Like he experienced some sort of trauma or something that affected his ability to mentally grow, which would explain a lot of his adult choices, shall we say. Like I said, I have no idea. I don't know. Xylie has in the past said that she experienced some sort of DV, right? And the kind of relationship. The landscapers, I'm sorry, you guys. See if I can power through this. The kind of abuse that she takes from Billy looks like somebody who is trying to please a partner who is abusive to them. Like, it doesn't look healthy at all, the situation that they have going on. But like I said, I don't know. All I can do is be the reactor on the outside who's watching this going, why do you let him speak to you that way? Why do you treat him that way? Why why can't you guys have like a normal working relationship? I just don't get it. But it goes further. So she was complaining this entire time while she was on cafe in the mornings, rewind at night. She kept complaining that she was not able to get any sleep and she didn't have time to really do anything. So, whenever she was making appearances on either show, she looked very unprepared about what's actually going on in the universe. But then she would drop things like, oh, well, I talk to Copper every night after his show. Why? So it looks to me like these two individuals have been spending much more time actually trying to control the creative direction of the locale universe than doing their stated jobs as Keem has described them to be, right? Hi, Camix 410. Good morning. Well, yeah, it's still morning on the West Coast. I think that they didn't really like what they were doing anyway. They're not real reactors, and your mama called that out yesterday. I had to sleep a lot yesterday because of the weather conditions in my area and because I was experiencing so much swelling. Um, so I had to, keep my feet up and try and let that fluid drain out of my ankles. Plus, I was in a mad rush to try and make sure this was all going to happen in time for me to go to this special event, which ultimately I couldn't go to because I just felt like crap, you guys. I felt like the utter crap. So the only thing I got accomplished yesterday was I steamed a couple of artichokes that I chilled in the fridge. I had one of them last night. Um, Lovely, tasty. I might go over like how I cook artichokes at some point, but anyway, point being is that Xylie was removed from cafe yesterday, like immediately. And what was going on in during that show? It's a 4-hour spot. She's complaining that she's got a 4-hour spot in the morning. She has a 2-hour spot in the evenings. Um, Complaining about all this work she had to do. But, most of the audience probably has at least 40-hour work weeks, right? And oftentimes it will invite, like, they'll be doing like physical labor during their work. And so the whining, the negativity, the I can't sleep, well, that sounds like a you problem, girl. Like what's in your head that you cannot lie down and sleep? Because you haven't complained about being in any sort of excessive pain or, things that would prevent you from sleeping. I also got another shout out on the show yesterday because I asked her straight when I saw the audience was all like, "Oh my God, Xylie sucks," blah 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 blah. That's when I took an opportunity to say, Xylie, how do you know Eugenia Cooney? Were you invited to a Jeffree Star event? Were you invited by the family to come down to Disney World and meet her? Like, how do you know her? And she had to admit that she doesn't know her. That she basically slipped into her DMs. And that's what I suspected the whole time, is that she talks a big game, puffs herself up, but doesn't really have the connections that she says she has. The only connections I can believe in with this woman is that is LCU, where she works currently. People that she met at Fat Camp, people she met at Keem's house. But in regards to anybody else that's kind of famous and has a big following on um, any of the platforms, and in the case of Eugenia, she's really big on TikTok right now, but she has been big in other arenas such as like Twitch and YouTube. And she keeps having a ban problem, but that's a whole other story. Like, I've covered Eugenia a lot, and I know how closed off and isolated her space is based on the protectiveness of her family and her relationship with Jeffree Star, her friendship, right? So I knew that she was full of shit when she kept telling her, "Oh, I know Eugenia. She's so great. I love her so much." What are you talking about? You obviously don't know her. So she was losing credibility pretty quickly. And she was creating a hostile environment for the audience, which is the worst thing, right? Not only for her working peers, in this network, but for the audience. And you really don't want to create a situation where your audience is so upset with a personality that they are demanding that she get kicked, that, she needs to go. Now, they've solved the problem with her being on Cafe by putting Batgirls back in that spot, which is fine. The audience likes Batgirl. I did kind of touch on the reaction that I did yesterday. I did touch on how she had a bit of a homophobic rant a few weeks ago, right before she got promoted to live. I'm seeing this, though, as being influence that is coming from Xylie and Billy, because they seem to spend more time trying to run around this network and control the other hosts than they do actually working on their own show. And it's starting to catch up with them. It's starting to bite them in the ass that they're not getting the job done. When they do cover rewind events, if you will, um, they get so wrapped up in their feels that they dwell on the subject for way too long. They can't actually just recap it and move on. So they're constantly complaining that there are too many channels to actually rewind. But if you cut down what you were recapping, like if you didn't give live during your 4 hour show, live that went for 2 hours, got 3 hours of space on your 4 hour show. Make that make sense, right? Um, they look like bitter people at this point. You've got the one lady who is close to my age. She's like 1 year younger than me. Um, Unrelatable to any of these young hosts in the network, but they feel this immense pressure to be on her good side because she will come after you. She will try and get you fired. And now her resume is looking a lot more like Glammy's. Somebody who cannot do any other show. And the only reason she is getting away with her spot on Rewind is because Billy is backing her up. And he probably sees her as somewhat of a human shield as well, because he doesn't have to work as hard if she's sucking up all the oxygen in the room, right? So anyway, she's been removed from cafe. Um, the complaining went down considerably after this move was made. But, she's still kind of whining that, well, pe- people hate me and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So do some self reflection. Figure out why that is. Why is it that people find you unrelatable and find you somebody they don't really want to watch? Why are you so angry at all times? Why are you so vengeful? Why are you so spiteful? What can you do to actually bring in your experience as a long-time reactor, as you say that you have, but can provide no proof of at this point, um, and prove that not only are you great at what you do, but that you're not miserable, that you're not a miserable person, right? Because that's what you're giving off at this point. And Billy is living in his own level of being a miserable person. So he's definitely not the one you want to look to for advice on this subject, because he's using Xylie. He's using her. I don't know what the future is of those two people, but they have puffed themselves up so severely that, and people are discovering it, that they're not who they say they are. They're not all that. Like, he's already admitted that he never got signed to a record label. He has bragged about having a headlining experience, offered a headlining experience at the Whiskey A Go Go, which is really a venue more for garage bands than any. The two of them together puff each other up so severely that it becomes very difficult to actually take them seriously. And when people like me drop comments on streams, they get really fucking freaked out, you guys. It's the leaf blower. They come by 3 times a week, y'all. Like, we have palm trees. There's not a whole lot falling on our sidewalks. But anyway, point being is I'm going to try and see what I can salvage out of the react I did yesterday. But it's too long, large of a file for my phone to handle. And I've tried to figure out, how do I split this file? What can I do? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just not there. I'm not investing money into my channel. I'm not doing stuff like that. Like, I do this for fun because I've been very much just trying to stretch my body out and like recover from this big injury that I had. So I'm gonna wrap it up because this guy is walking around being super loud. I hope you guys are gonna have a happy Friday, and we're working for the weekend, right? Just working for the weekend. All right, take care, you guys.